All right, it is Friday. How many more Fridays are there in the Major League season? I guess 3 more.
Boy, you're good.
3 more Fridays. There you go. It is Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. John Schneider, the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, joins us in half an hour from Atlanta. Ahead of tonight's first game of their 3-game series against the Bravos. Erik Kratz will be along. He is, of course, host of Foul Territory, former MLB catcher. And Shi Davidi of Sportsnet will join us from Atlanta, one of my least favorite cities on the planet. Not that that matters. But.
It doesn't.
Huh?
It doesn't.
Yeah,
Park's nice.
Huh?
The park's nice.
Well, it's better than the old one. Actually, it's better than the old one. This is like the second one to replace Fulton County Stadium. There's a fire in the press box at Fulton County Stadium one time, which was pretty spectacular.
Were you there?
I can't remember. I
How
just
do you know
remember
there was
that
a
there was
fire?
a fire in the press box. That was a famous story. I might have been there. I don't think I was there. There's a fire in the press box. Check Atlanta Fulton County Stadium and fire in the press box. It started in one of the kitchen areas. That was a dump. It was an absolute.
Why am I getting texts saying we're not on the TV? Are we not on TV today?
I don't know.
Got like 3 texts already saying why is there no show? Boo.
I don't know.
Huh.
Tell them to watch the right channel.
Maybe we're only on one channel. Are we only on one
I
channel?
have no idea. You know, I just show up at my appointed time and do the work.
Oh, 360. So if you're listening, it's 360. Stop texting me.
I just show up at the appointed time.
There you
go. It is Friday, so we will also. Voices in my head.
Well, you're trying to get the show out. That's you're trying to.
It is Friday, so we'll have the back leg
All
line.
stations at 5:00. So I've been told.
Back leg line as well. Your chance to talk to Kevin Barker, or me if you want, but I'd prefer you really to talk to Barker. And the number as always is 416-413-3959. A reminder, we'll be doing Blue Jays talk following tonight's game. A winning edition of Blue Jays talk, I think.
You sure? You're digging into that. Lefties throwing.
Yeah,
13 to 16 against lefties.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dudes in that lineup that stink against lefties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if that's the road you want to go down, go for it.
Kevin Gossman on the mound for the Blue Jays. That fills me with hope.
Well, he'll do his part, I believe. Yeah.
Anyhow, 416-413-3959 is the back leg line. Let's not waste any time. Robin Peterborough called up.
I'm just wondering, with the urgency of the winning window to win with Bo and Vladdy, if it would be a good idea for the Blue Jays to sign Juan Soto to a long-term deal and back-end the money, much the way that the Dodgers did with Ohtani this season. That way they could still have the money to sign a Santander or somebody else and get a couple of bats and maybe even have a chance to actually compete. Just wondering.
Yeah, I would think if you sign Juan Soto, you don't need to sign those other guys. You'd get the best out of Bo. Vladdy would be protected. You'd have 3 guys in the top of your order that's pretty solid. You take your chances with that. That means you could go out and maybe spend a little bit more money, or you'd trade for a closer. You could do some things with your pen. I wouldn't hold my breath with the Juan Soto thing. I mean, I know there's rumblings that,
Well, they'll make, I think they'll make a call on it. But,
yeah, I know Heyman threw it in there. It says 25-1, but that's coming from the agent. Make sure you throw the Blue Jays in there so, they can get as many names in the pot and raise that price with the 2 New York teams as you can. I mean, that's the whole point. That's absolutely. I mean, if Mr. Rogers would like to spend that amount of money, yeah, for sure that would make their team better, but I don't see it.
I think it's less that as it is, does the front office have the stones to try to do it? That's the way I look at it.
Wouldn't you think that would come from the person that's writing the check? Like, you sort of present it and he's like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Have to be presented to him, though. Depends how it's presented.
Yeah, look, I think the urgency conversation that me and you had about that, I'm just, the more you sleep on that, the more you think about it. You're probably right. So, I think it would be more, apt to see the Santanders and the Christian Walkers and the Brandon Lows than a Juan Soto. But
Barker's right. I mean, if they were to sign, and I mean, I said this last year, if the Jays had any type of minor league system last year, they might have been able to trade for Juan Soto the way the Yankees did. But clearly they didn't have enough depth in their minor league system to get that job done. And the reason we saw the Blue Jays do what they did at the trade deadline wasn't just to get players in here who might help them. I think it was a realization that their farm system was so depleted that they didn't have any players available to trade. Their top pitching prospects are hurt. Their best pitching prospect, let's just say this, has always been hurt since he's been here, Ricky Tiedemann. So, I think that was a reflection of the reality that the Jays just didn't have enough in the minor league system to put that type of deal together. Having said that, if you're going to sign Juan Soto long term, you're looking at $500 million to $600 million. And as I've said, there was a business case to be made for signing Shohei Ohtani. He was going to sell a lot of product in Japan. He was going to sell a lot of product here. He, for a telecommunications company, opened all sorts of worldwide possibilities. Juan Soto does not do that. There is, frankly, no other player on the planet who offers a company like this company the stuff that Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, and I've said this: if you're going to give a dude $500 or $600 million, he better be your best player, just not your best hitter. Juan Soto's not that. So there's right now the fact of the matter is there's other options that will make your team just as good. I mean, maybe not as top end as it would be if you add a Juan Soto to the mix, but there's enough on the market now that you could spend less money and be just as good and be competitive and give yourself a chance to make the playoffs. That's what it's about, right? It ain't about, I don't think it's about winning the American League East. I think it's just about making the playoffs. And there's enough out there. So, yeah, perfect scenario would be Juan Soto, but I'm with Jeff. I just, for me, that doesn't make a ton of sense. If you're a businessman and trying to figure out how you'd make that money back, Juan Soto is going to do it. And I think, too, there are other teams that will be looking at the Juan Soto thing in New York. And depending on how far they get in the playoffs and how it looks with the best right-handed hitter in baseball on their team, I think that'll go a long way to determine on what you might do or what you might not do. If I see it added to what they got in New York and it didn't work out, why would I drop $600 million on that dude? You're bringing a dude there like that to dot it. Period. We're winning the World Series because of him.
If the
you
Yankees
can see
don't
it playing
win the
out.
World Series, Juan Soto won't get $500 million.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that might deter a couple of teams from being all in on a guy paying $600 million for. $600 million bucks, a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a dude can hit. He's a good defender, good base runner, got a good arm.
So if they don't win the World Series, the
lot.
market for Juan Soto
That's
shrinks.
not what the market's small anyway. I mean, it's a handful of teams. It's all in on that dude.
So it's going to have no impact
What's
on
that,
the market.
about 4 teams? Maybe 5 if you add the Nationals.
So it's not going to have any impact on the market is what you're saying.
Well, it might have an impact with the Blue Jays. I'm not Ed Rogers. I'm not have no idea how he'd want to spend his money. But would you want to spend your money $600 million on Juan Soto?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. That's not me.
I mean, yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Having done that, I'd also want to have Vladdy here locked up long term.
So there's another 300.
Well, yeah.
You'd want to give Bo another 200. There's a That's $1 billion.
I would move on from that. I would move on.
You would? Well, that would give you an opportunity if you signed that. You signed Vladdy. Yeah. You could sell that to an organization and a fan base by getting rid of Bo.
Let's go to Frank and Aurelia.
When are the Jays going to realize that as much as the talent on the field means something, the leadership from management to coaches to the team manager, when does that need to change? As far as I'm concerned, Schneider's done nothing. Walker's done nothing. Budzinski, whatever. I think the Jays need to start there and clean house and say, look, this is what needs to happen. If you want to grow the team, you want to make the team happen and you want to make it grow. That's my personal opinion. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't have any issue necessarily with I've talked about this. I don't know how you grade John Schneider based on the fact that the guy had six weeks without a bona fide closer. Considering the fact that he's managing a team whose front office essentially punted on the season. I don't know how you grade John Schneider. We go back to that game in Minnesota. We don't know the whole story about that playoff game. We just don't, and that's frankly that's deliberate. I don't have any issue with the way John Schneider's managed this team. I've told people, is he the best manager I've covered? Nope. Is he the worst manager? Hardly. So I don't have any problem with that. I will say this: the pitching staff has given up a ton of home runs 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about anything other than I look at this pitching staff and I'm not certain the stuff is all that good.
Yeah, they're not the Mariners. I think that's your point.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have a rotation where they're going to stuff you to death.
No.
They got to add and subtract. They got to do a little trickery. Like, there's a lot of – they got a two-pitch guy. They don't have
anybody starting where I go, whoa.
Yeah, you got no chance today. Like, you don't have anybody like that.
No, they don't.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fans that feel that way. Like, that blow that thing up, start over.
Yeah.
But I also in the camp that I think you give it, if you're going to give it another run, make sure you get talent in here. I just don't think the talent 1 through 26 is there. Like,
the last
just don't think it is.
The last 2 years, you can't have looked at this lineup and said, boy, that lineup on a lot of nights is more talent than the other team. You certainly can't this year. It just doesn't.
No.
And that's that's on the front office. That's on the people who put the team together. We've talked about the hitting coaches. I mean, I just don't know. I just given up thinking about that because it's obviously a philosophy. If they get rid of all the hitting coaches this year, my guess is they're going to bring the same type of guys in. It's going to be the same. They're going to be using the same analytics. They're going to be using the same stuff.
Yeah.
So, I guess.
I think Frank's right, and I think you're right. I think Frank's got a fair point, and I do think
it's a fair point completely.
And I think as long as the front office is here, to your point, the same message will be sent no matter who the coaches are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, I think that we're at the point now with this team that you could fire the whole coaching staff and the manager. It wouldn't make a rat's ass bit of difference.
No, they'd still be having to send the same message that the front office wants them to send. So that's what I said. Get more talent in here, 1 through 5 in your lineup. And if it doesn't play out, then gloves are off. You fire who you want to fire.
And you know what? I will say this, because there are people that will say, well, you have to do something to show the fans. Well, they didn't last year. They got rid of Dave Hudgens. Pick Dave Hudgens out of a lineup.
Well, it wouldn't be hard. He's big.
It would be hard, right?
No, it wouldn't be hard.
Well,
he's joked.
Yeah, the average fan. Stop it. You know what I mean? So I don't think this gets back to what Ken Rosenthal wrote this week. Times are different. The wild card has made everybody think that they have a chance of getting to the playoffs. It gives the front office an excuse to go to ownership and say, hey, look, we're only 5 back. Frankly, the wild card makes your team look better than it really is. You can't say it any other way. And it is. It's easier to pitch that. If you're a front office, it's easier to pitch that to ownership. If you're the Blue Jays, what's easier to pitch? Well, if the old playoff format was in effect, the Jays would not have made the playoffs since 2015, 2016. With this current playoff format, you can go at ownership and say, hey, we made the playoffs 3 years.
Yeah.
There's a big, big difference.
Yeah.
So I think the way things are done in baseball now, again, this gets back to what Ken Rosenthal wrote. There are so many layers involved in the running of a baseball team right now that I think the idea that, well, we'll just fire this guy and everything will change, I don't think that works. And if you're confused here, I would really suggest you go on social media and see what your friends who are Seattle Mariners fans are thinking, because their GM just got an extension. And the team hasn't said how much the extension is, but he's got an extension. So, I mean, I would say this. Jerry Dipoto, the fact that he hasn't been fired this year, to me, is a bigger surprise than anything else that has gone on or hasn't gone on anywhere around baseball.
Yeah, I guess, look, it tells you, I think, both organizations, the Blue Jays and the Mariners, that it takes both sides of the ball. If you don't complete both of those, you can't compete.
No,
you can compete for a little while, like the Mariners did, and then
what it says is what Jerry Dipoto said a couple of years ago or last year is right. Fans don't want to hear it, but you know what? If you win 54% of your games over a couple of years, that's what you aim for. I know fans don't want to hear that. That's the way it is.
Yeah, I think
you
it's
just better hope that the team you're competing against doesn't win 61% of its games.
Like the Astros.
Wayne and Victoria, BC.
I just want to ask both of you guys one little question. Based on what's happened over the last 8 years, how do you perceive going forward that our current regime of Mark and Ross are going to correct the problem? Because we are in so much trouble. It's just asinine to think how he can change it all in 1 year. Anyway, I look forward to it, hearing your comments, because I just don't see how he can fix it in 1 year. Anyway, talk soon. Bye.
Jeff, am I crazy? I must be the only one that think this is not a hard fix. Am I the only one that thinks that?
Yep.
You haven't met anybody in the last 3 months that thinks the way I think?
Nope.
Man, that's shocking. That is shocking that you got 3 dudes in your rotation. You go out and get a better arm for the 9th inning. You get 2 dudes who know how to hit in the middle of the order and drive in a run. You make Bo happy, which is not the hardest thing to do. If just by bringing in 2 dudes that can hit at the top of the order, we'll make Bo happy. It ain't like you got to go hug it out or take him to dinner. That'll do it. That's a hard fix.
What makes you – well –
Tell me this. As long as ownership is willing to pony up, I have no idea if they are. I'm just assuming they are, because Mark didn't say that they were going backwards in payroll.
It hasn't worked so far.
Well, they haven't tried that.
Well, yeah, they have.
They brought in stinky stuff. To fill in lineups. I'm talking about dudes know how to hit.
Let me finish. They've had payroll to do that the last 2 years. They haven't done it. And I think most fans' point of view is, what makes you think this front office will do it this year?
Maybe.
They haven't done it for the 2 previous years.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think the Mark Shapiro thing is a thing now.
What is a thing?
I think that up until this year, he can stay behind the scenes.
1 year left in his contract.
He does, but I mean, he's a prideful man. Like, I know him. I've been around him forever. Like, I know his father. I know his family. I've known him for a long. They got a lot of pride. Like, it ain't like he's not going to do anything and just walk away from the Blue Jays, finishing in 4th or 5th place again. I find hard to believe. So, I think it's not going to be us blaming the GM halfway through the season. It will be us blaming the president. When's the last time we did that? I'll tell you, since they've been here, never. So this is the first year. That's my point. I just think now, as many good hitters as there will be on the market, if you still have money to spend, it's right in front of you. That's all I'm saying.
It's right in front of you last year.
It was not. There was not as many dudes. Ohtani, you've said this how many times? And then you have to go out and get Turners of the world and
it was right in front of you.
Teoscar
it was right in front of you 2 years ago when you got Brandon Belt. Lots of hitters in the market that year.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just saying.
It's the.
Listen.
It's the playoffs. It's underreacting. It's overreacting. We've had this conversation.
What Wayne is saying is he doesn't believe that Mark and
Ross. He doesn't
Ross,
like the front office. He doesn't think they can do it.
What he's saying is he doesn't think Mark and Ross are capable of doing that.
Yeah,
and he's basing that on the fact that he hasn't seen it for the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think it gets back to they've made the playoffs 3 out of the 4 years. That's why. They have a blueprint on they think this is how you can do it. Now, when you finish 15 out of first place in your division and you're that many games under 500, maybe they don't care.
They finished 35 games out of first place 1 year. They finished 36 games out of first place 1 year. This isn't the worst year they've had. And it didn't change anything.
When's the last time they had a top six payroll in baseball? Were they 35 games out when they had a top 6 payroll in baseball?
They were middle of the pack.
Well, that's not top 6. Top 6 is high.
Well,
that's way up there. That's all I'm saying. Like maybe I got a little bit more faith than half of the front office.
Well, no, I think you're assuming that everybody, all those free agents are going to sign. Like you make it sound easy. Well, you just got to go out and get a closer and 2 thumpers. Well, they've never been able to do that. They've never been able to get 2 thumpers. They just haven't. I mean, they haven't. The last 2 off seasons, Kiermaier, Turner, and IKF. The season before, Belt, Kiermaier. And then you add in, do hitters want to come to this park? I don't know.
It's not the park.
Past 2 years, nobody's come here. I'm just saying.
Okay.
And maybe there's a greater sense of urgency because it's the last year of Bo and Vladdy. But I would also think that if you're a free agent coming here, you want to know what you're getting into.
I guess. Or how big's the check?
If the money's going to be, but if the money's going to be the same.
I'm gonna tell you straight up, they don't care if Bo or Vladdy's going to be here.
Okay. All right.
They don't.
Mike in Toronto.
You know enough rich people.
I think the Toronto Blue Jays is going the right direction. They have to rebuild. And if you're going to rebuild, you have to do it right. And you definitely have to build around Vladdy. And Rogers and the Blue Jays, they have to also sign some good free agent players in the offseason and kind of boost up the bullpen. Honestly, this year was the bullpen that they collapsed. The starting pitching wasn't as bad. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.
Yeah, listen, I can't disagree with you. And I found it interesting that when Mark Shapiro was asked about this year, the first thing he pointed to was the bullpen's implosion. He didn't take the next step and ask why his GM didn't address the situation at the time and let his manager run out the ghost of Chad Green or whoever the hell else was pitching in the ninth inning.
He's been good up until the last couple outings.
Yeah, again though, no Romano, no Garcia.
Everybody knows
let's
what you're
just
saying.
make it work. Let's see if we can have the Brendan Littles and Ryan Burrs
Nance,
of the world.
your boy
and
Nance.
Was it Jose Quas? Wasn't he in the team for a while?
Didn't they just DFA him? Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they DFA'd him and they signed a guy from the Marlins. I wonder, had the Blue Jays been more aggressive in filling their bullpen, answering their bullpen issues early, would they have won a couple more games? Would it be enough to make up the 8-game deficit? I don't think so.
I think they've had 21 losses out of their pen.
It's a lot of losses.
Slap it in half. Maybe you got a chance.
Well,
at least you might be above 500.
Not even in half. Let's say that you pull 5 of those out. I mean, but the bottom line is, if you're around 5 games out of the wild card, you can sell the dream to people, right? Like the Detroit Tigers are selling the dream.
They're in it.
But I will always wonder about that, and I know it's hypothetical, but I just wonder what would have happened had the Jays treated their bullpen differently or addressed it with some urgency.
Here's the deal. What do you think's better chance of happening? Them going out and making a better bullpen or getting 2 thumpers? I think the bullpen.
Pardon me?
I think the bullpen.
Yeah.
I'm wishful thinking with the 2 thumpers. It's a lot more fun, the atmosphere, just watching dudes thump balls into the third deck. But you know as well as anybody, I like to come on here and dream, and that's basically what I'm trying to sell is the 2 thumpers and a closer. Because that's a perfect scenario. When you got a lot of money, you're spending that much money, you could just dream. But it's going to be run preventing with another 35-year-old hitting cleanup. You know as well as I know, Jeff.
Well, the Blue Jays have made some roster moves. Right-hander Luis Frias has been recalled from Buffalo. He'll be active for tonight's game. Brandon Iser has been optioned to AAA Buffalo. Oh, why not? Titanic deck chairs.
You're shuffling them.
Just shuffling. John Schneider's manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. He joins it. What are you shaking your head for? John Schneider's manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. He joins us next. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan at Sportsnet. 7:20 will be the first pitch tonight. The Jays taking on the
7:20,
I believe.
Man.
Jays taking on the Atlanta Braves. I think it's 7:20. See, now, look, I even actually looked it up, and now you got me thinking.
All right.
But you know how bad I am with starting times.
That's all right.
I always tell people, just tune in to 7 o'clock. You got nothing else
Well,
to do.
7:20 is a little different. 7:07.
7:20.
7:10.
That's
That's an odd time, right?
Well, is it any odder than 7:10 or 7:07?
It is, absolutely. Nobody plays the game at 7:20. So it's very odd. Whenever you ever said game time 7:20? Never in your entire life until 4:30 on Friday.
See, 7:05 makes more sense than 7:07.
Yeah, obviously it's a TV thing, but
Well, they don't have TV
it's
in
very
7:05
7:20.
games.
It's an odd time, but whatever. Braves are making $1 trillion a year, so good for them.
7:20 is when the Jays and Braves open their 3-game series.
Mm.
At Truist. I think it's called Truist.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called Truist.
That's it.
Let's bring in the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, John Schneider.
There he is.
There he is. He's at Truist. Is it Truist Park or Truist Field? Whatever. He's in
Truist
Atlanta.
Park, 7:20 start.
There
It's
you
an
go.
odd time. No,
Thanks,
7:20, John? You ever heard of 7:20?
No, not really.
It's very odd. Throws off your whole process, your routine. It's very odd.
It's a big 13-minute there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
What should we do?
I'm sure you can find something to do. So, hey, John, you guys are going to be you're going to be facing Max Fried tonight. I don't have to tell you this. You guys do 13-16 against lefties, 29th total bases against lefties. George Springer's hitting 183 against lefties. How does this happen? Because your lineup has got a lot of right-handed hitters in it.
Good ones.
Good ones.
Yeah, well, I mean, less than in years past, which is kind of cool too. But I mean, it comes down to approach. Every lefty is different. I think what's different about Max is he's throwing into righties a little bit more than your traditional lefty, and it comes down to approach. You got to leave the changeup, where it should be, hopefully out of the zone. And he's a little bit different with the curveball, fastball kind of cuts in on the righties. So hopefully it turns tonight a little bit, but it is weird how there's certain guys, whether it's George, Kirky, Vlad, even lefties. It's a whole different animal, especially when you got a good one. And they got 2 of them going this series, so we got our work cut out for us.
Yeah, Kevin's been really good, as you well know, John. His last 5 starts got an ERA a little over 2. What's been the difference in that and the beginning of the season?
Fastball location, fastball velocity. When he's got good velo, he's good. And, I think that kind of has been up and down over the course of the year. And everything just plays so much better when his fastball's good. And for the last month or so, I think, he's been pretty tight with his mechanics. He's been a lot better with his direction to the plate. And that leads to the velo. So hopefully he can keep that rolling. And when that's on, split's really good.
Yeah, other than getting a good pitch to hit, why has Dalton Varsho been able to drive the ball the other way?
He's getting good pitches to hit, man.
Oh,
I think he's made a few changes. He's made a few adjustments in terms of staying through the middle of the field. You look at the homers to center, some hard hit balls to left center. It's kind of the next step for Varsh. I think direction is a big thing for him, and when you put that together with pitch selection, you're starting to see him become a little bit more of a complete hitter as opposed to just whole side power. So I think with I say it all the time, but with pitch selection, everything kind of just falls into place in terms of your path, your mechanics, all that kind of stuff. So it's been kind of cool to see him evolve a little bit here, and I think hitting in front of Vlad is also helping him, and seeing some pitches to hit.
Do you think there's any possibility that the shoulder, whatever the shoulder issues are, the shoulder pain, the stiffness, whatever it is, has that contributed in any way to him making adjustments, or could it come from the adjustments he's made?
I don't think it's the shoulder so much. I think it's adjustments he's been working on, you know, and I'm looking forward to seeing him against these 2 lefties, this series, and he's hitting lefties really well. And I think just kind of staying on that pitch that's a little bit out over, whether or not, his shoulder's fine. I think that, you can kind of relate it to fouling a ball off your foot and being a little bit softer on your front side. He could be feeling it a little bit, but it's kind of allowing him to, stay a little bit more relaxed. But I think a lot of it is the adjustments that he's made kind of in the box.
John, what have you learned about Will Wagner in the short little time you've been around him?
Man, there's lots of like with him, just simple approach and a baseball player. A game does not speed up on him. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement too, even going, rest of the season into next year. Nothing really phases him. And I think that you can say that easily with guys that have been around the clubhouse their whole life, with his dad playing for as long as he did. So he's steady. He understands, what the game is calling for, whether it's moving a guy, getting a guy in, where to be defensively. He's just a solid baseball player, and someone that you can, I know I've said to you guys before, we kind of take the word assume out of our vocabulary with some of the young guys here, but he's a guy that you can expect to be in the right spot.
Should we read anything into the fact that Spencer Horowitz's time at second base since Will Wagner has been here has been limited? And is there, I know that apparently the defensive analytics with Spencer at second base aren't great. I don't know. Are we reading too much into that, John, or is this just simply this is the way we get everybody at bats right now?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Again, I think Spence coming in and playing second at the big league level says a lot about him and kind of his ability to slow things down like he does in the batter's box. But I think you look at who else we have, it kind of makes sense to keep him first base, DH, things like that, trying to put your best defense behind some of our pitchers. So the fact that he's shown he can do it, I think is really good for him and us moving forward. And we're just trying to maximize the guys that we do have here now. Not that second base is going to be totally out of the equation for Spence going forward. But I think kind of just with who else we have around him, he's better suited at first right now.
John, you mentioned you got two lefties and a righty coming up the next 3 games. I think Jeff read the lineup out. Joey Loperfido's not playing today against the lefty. Going forward, what's the plan for him with how you're matching up against other pitchers?
Still trying to put him in spots to hopefully do well. The plan for him, we want to see what he can do. We want to see what Joey can do. And he's continuing to work, continuing to make adjustments. And then we had a good week, 10 days, and kind of, not so good the last couple of games. But this is kind of part of the work that he's been putting in. And if we can, hide him from a lefty here and there, great. There's going to be days where he's in there against the lefty. He's been in there against lefty. So trying to just find the right spot for him. But we definitely want to see, what he can do and the adjustments that he's been working on, kind of how they play out in real time.
Is there a chance that we will see Jake Bloss before the end of the year? Or is that sort of down in the list of priorities right now?
No, we talk about it, we talk about it pretty often. I think there's a chance we see him for sure. And, coming off a better outing this past one as opposed to the one before. So it all kind of depends on, who needs what here. And if guys need an extra day, if we can fit him into a starting spot, a spot start, something like that, still within the kind of innings that we want him to throw the rest of the year. So we would love to get him up here. And, but we're not going to force it. I think we're pretty familiar with him at this point. And, I know Pete wants to get his eyes on him. I want to see what he's all about, in a game up here. So if it works out, we definitely want to try to get him up here.
John, based on his previous start, what would you like to see Yariel do on Sunday?
Just be more efficient with his pitches. Again, it's not going to be, a hard stop, 3 innings, 4 innings. It's going to depend on how he's pitching. And I think just, he's had games where he's been real efficient, 50, 60 pitches through 5 or 6. Not that, but I think just kind of, less deep counts, some early contact and getting in the zone a little bit more consistently throughout the first time through the lineup and see how far he can go. We're going to monitor him a little bit. We're not going to push him, as deep into games because of the innings that he's logged this year, but definitely want to see him be more efficient first time through the order.
Obviously Bowden Francis had a really, really impressive August. But, John, I've got to tell you, watching him against the Phillies, to me, the way that game started and the way he finished just reinforced even more how far along he's come. Because I don't know, obviously you're around him more than I am, but I don't know if the Bowden Francis of earlier this year would have been able to navigate his way through that lineup after giving up a home run.
Yeah, I'm with you. That was, albeit, you lose the game,
right.
And Bowden comes out, behind, but it's a far cry from what he was. He has made so many strides. It's a tough lineup. That's a tough lineup to navigate. And to strike out 6, walk nobody, limit damage, and really pitch was really, really impressive. It's I said it after the game. It's about the best outcome you could have losing a game with a guy who you're looking at to kind of establish himself as a starter. So, yeah, his previous 5 were great. You throw in an almost no-hitter in there and 7 shutout in Boston, but really, really pleased with how he kind of just kept the game where it was. The second home run from Clemens, too, was, kind of, I don't want to say it's a cheapie. Home runs are home runs. Didn't hit it particularly hard.
Right.
So it was another really good stepping stone for Bowden.
When do you, as a staff and as a management group, begin the process of putting together what you want guys to do in the off season? In particular, a guy like Bowden, who has established himself, having a good month, knock on wood, finishes the season strongly. How do you go about putting together a plan for his off season?
We talk about it quite a bit. I think you're talking about it whether you're, planning to play all the way through the playoffs or whether you're not, but I think you talk about it a lot, so nothing kind of, sneaks up on you in terms of workload, how many innings he's pitched, what you're looking at next year. And you try to, leave the season with everyone being on the same page. So it's fluid for sure, based on every outing and every game and all this kind of stuff. But it's something we talk about. We're talking about it now. We're talking about what we're looking for guys, down the stretch and into the offseason. We're talking about it now. And, I think for Bowden in particular, he's just really showing that he can handle a workload and really kind of, stick right where he is in the rotation.
How much input does the player have in this?
We try to always include them, and I think try to get their feedback in terms of what they're comfortable with. And I think as a player gets older, conversations with Kevin Gausman and Chris Bassett are going to be different than Bowden, obviously, but it's always kind of a little bit of a back and forth with the player. And, you guys know there's a ton of people that go into the decision from a strength and conditioning, physical, athletic trainer, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot that goes into it, but it's, we try to always include the player and see what they're most comfortable with.
How does that conversation go with a guy, say, like Brandon Little, who's an effectively wild dude? Like, where does the conversation start and how do you end it, I think?
How it starts, I think you want to see how he's reacting to, almost a full season in the big leagues, where he's at physically. And for him in particular, it's a pretty easy message. It's a pretty simple message. It's throw strikes. It's like your stuff is really good and get it in the box. He's an easy one. It's like, okay, make sure you're taking care of yourself and let's not try to overthink this. Let's figure out a way where you can repeat your delivery and get your stuff in the zone, because when it's in the zone, it's really good. And he's another guy that's kind of opened some eyes in terms of what a reliever, especially a lefty, is supposed to look like. So that conversation will be pretty quick. And I think that we've had enough conversations with him over the course of the year. He kind of knows what's coming.
John, before we let you go, this is the last one. Jeff's trying to wrap this thing up because we know you're busy. I got to ask, football season just started.
Got an extra 13 minutes, man. He's got lots of time.
Football season just started. I'm a big football fan. I'm a Broncos fan. My wife, as you well know, is a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and they look like they're making a serious run at this thing. Now, you're from Florida. Are you a Bucs fan? Do you like football as much as my family does?
Love football. Can't say that I'm a Bucs fan, and I got to side with my wife here, who's from Miami, and say that I like watching the Dolphins these days. Grew up a Giants fan in New Jersey, and that you kind of watch Saquon get wasted, so you kind of tune them out a little bit. But I got to say, I got to side with the Dolphins right now. They're fun, exciting. I think Mike McDaniel's a cool coach to watch operate, and I think they got probably the best receiver in the game. So if I'm watching football, it's going to be the Dolphins.
As long as it's warm, that's a safe bet.
Yeah. I mean, but football is great. I love a Sunday football day.
The only guy that doesn't like it in the world, John, is the guy that's sitting right beside me. He hates football.
I watch other stuff. I like watching college football.
Soccer.
And I watch college.
Yeah. What?
I mean,
who's your favorite college football team?
My favorite college football team would probably be, I don't really have a favorite, probably Minnesota, because that's the area I'm from. But, that's kind of about it. I'm not one of these people. I'm not going to cheer for all the Notre Dame fans and all this. It just drives me nuts. I don't know how you can have. Anyhow, enough of both. John, thanks for doing this. Thanks, get him.
Buddy. Go good.
You bet, guys.
See ya.
Take care.
All
John
right,
Schneider, manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. I didn't even know Minnesota, maybe. Gophers.
I didn't even know they had a team.
I've gone to Gophers games. Fun. Other college games, I've been to North Dakota. That's like a Division II indoor stadium.
I mean, Texas, Michigan's playing Saturday. Like, that's going to be a huge game. It's like 114,000 in a stadium, and a college football game is. It's things like that.
I like what God's honest truth. I like watching the big schools play. I really don't have a favorite. Tennessee, I kind of like.
My sister's a big Tennessee fan.
I just think it's the whole thing is cool. The whole environment.
Yeah. I think it's the environment. I think that's what it is. I mean, I'm a Hokies fan, obviously, because I went to Virginia Tech. You know, the Enter Sandman song when everybody's getting fired up, and then they come out and lose to Vanderbilt. Like, it's like, you just don't want to ever watch them again, which is me. So
it's like
it's hard.
You know, the thing I don't get is like everybody who's they've got their 6 generations ago are Irish and they're Notre Dame fans. I don't get that.
I mean, as long as they're, sports is a beautiful thing, right? It's a sort of a front running thing. Like you fall in love with today, and I'll worry about tomorrow. Like that's. But
there's all. I mean, as long as there's a good soccer match on, I won't watch the NFL.
Ever since I don't remember the guy, but ever since that guy got kicked and was missed by 7 feet and laid there for 15 minutes, I'm out. I watched like 40 minutes of that, and I watched that, and he laid there, flopped around for 50. It's like, that's the most ridiculous thing. And then I'm texting you, like, you know how hard it is to run for 40 minutes straight.
Like, you know how hard it is to run for 40 minutes straight?
Yeah, I know how hard it is to lay there and act like you got kicked.
And then get kicked in your leg. You take a break.
How about you didn't get kicked? And you laid there for 15 minutes.
It's not like
your teammates were bringing a stretcher out.
Dude, it's not like football where you run for about 2 minutes every weekend.
Well, they had me for about 25 minutes. That's it.
I mean, I guess if you like a bunch of people standing around scratching themselves and waiting for the coach to make a call, I guess that's exciting. I mean, the only reason football exists is for gambling and advertising. Other than that, there's no reason to watch the sport.
Yeah, I do neither.
Nothing happens.
I like the sport. I like speed. I like guys doing things that are really big that nobody else can do. I mean, you got 350-pound dudes outrunning 180-pound dudes. Like, that's special. There ain't no other sport that can do that.
Watch rugby. They do it without equipment.
I mean,
just saying.
It must be something special to be in your household on an everyday basis. It's just like...
It's like nobody in our household are big sports fans. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Watch baseball, watch soccer. That's enough. I don't need to watch anything else. There's a little F1. I'll watch I'll watch a college game inside. If the weather's crappy outside, I'll sit inside and watch college football.
Gosh.
But I mean, I'll be flipping around like that, and I avoid all the pregame shows because they're just the worst. That's the worst of the United States. College football pregame shows. All you have to do is watch a college football pregame show, and you understand everything that's screwed up about the United States. Very simple. It's true. Have you ever actually heard what is said in those shows?
You're the only person that sits down and actually just tunes in and starts and stops it and goes, can you believe it?
Nobody, a lot of people.
Like, can you understand? What?
Why do
nobody
you watch
does it? Because it's just like the atmosphere, and it's the young kids that are standing behind the show yelling and screaming for their favorite team. It is. For a young person, it is.
That's exciting.
And there's the only one person who lives in Hamilton.
Mommy and Daddy are paying $60,000 so you can go and jump up and down.
I got a full ride, and I did it. So my mommy and dad didn't pay for anything.
You told me you never went to the football game.
At Virginia
crazy. Tech. You told me you didn't go to football. You know what if you don't.
Man alive.
You told me you were doing something else on those Saturday afternoons.
Saturday, I'm a college kid, and I was pretty good at baseball. So I was doing a lot of things.
All right.
You guys try to get along, won't you?
Anyhow.
I mean, you said some asinine things on this show. That is like, that whole 4-minute conversation we just had. Gee, we could just run that and replay it over and over again for the most asinine thing you've said.
It's not
40 years of talk show radio.
It's not my fault that you've been co-opted and you're yet another one of those people who've been sucked into the NFL vortex.
See, I'm a big fan of my wife. My wife enjoys it, so I like to sit down on the couch and enjoy it with her. Now what, Jeff?
But I have
now respond to that.
But
Jeff.
I don't criticize you for it.
You did. You just did.
I understand.
You said, everybody that watches that's basically morons.
I said I understand why you do it. You're the one who's taken offense to the fact that I don't want to watch football.
That is.
I could just find there's more interesting things to do with my time.
Okay. More power to you.
Yeah. It just is.
Never apologize when you're right.
Guys standing around doing nothing.
No soccer player stands around, do they? I watched, 25 minutes of that. I saw a lot of standing.
Guys standing.
A lot of standing.
70 guys in a college team. Half of them don't get on the field. Man.
Yeah, and like 30 of them that are standing all have full rides. Why do you think they're standing over there? Because they're getting a free education. Bing, bang, boom. You know how much colleges are? Yeah, I'd stand over there, too, to get a free – I know you do. I'd stand over there, too, to get a free ride to college. So, absolutely. So, now what? What, you want to try again?
Yeah.
That's why they play college. And if they're fortunate enough to, practice kicking and stand over there for a 25-minute football game and watch really good athletes and get a free full ride to – move on in life and be a leader of the world.
I love watching all those folks
More
on the
power to
sidelines
them.
doing nothing.
You're the only one that would actually stand there, watch the football game, and look at the people that are standing over there on the sidelines doing nothing.
They still have guys that actually make sure the coach doesn't trip over his little the wire from his. And they still have the state trooper that runs out on the field with them, right?
You know how much coaches make a year?
Doesn't matter to me. They got a state trooper running out beside them. For what? To protect them from what?
From the fans running on the field.
Dumb. Anyhow.
Again, you've said some asinine stuff. There it is, boy. We have finally found it.
I can't help it.
I mean,
you
are picking on a 16-year-old kid for standing over there getting a free ride, never playing a sport. Because that's basically what they're doing. They're standing over there.
There ain't no 16-year-old kid.
Most of them big-time colleges are playing the best of the best, and they're giving everybody on that team a full ride.
So what?
You're picking on the kid standing over there that never plays, getting a full ride.
I'm just saying that.
You're picking on that kid. How's it feel? How's it feel? How's it feel to pick on them? Trying to make their life better.
Not doing anything. It's a bunch of people not doing anything. That's all I'm saying.
And
you know what they say: put a stopwatch on an NFL game and find out how much action there is. It's like 11 minutes.
Gosh,
the rest of the time is a bunch of guys standing around. Anyhow, we've got tickets to give away to see the Jays and the Mets. We'll do that in the next hour. Shi Davidi will join us from Atlanta, and Erik Kratz in a few seconds will join us. He is host of Foul Territory, the podcast. Joey Votto was on with Ken Rosenthal. Don't know if you caught any.
No,
of it.
I saw him on the
MLB Network.
Man, I just say I love Joey. We're stopping there. I love Joey.
It is a remarkable transformation from a guy who a few years ago would not be very comfortable doing stuff like that. It's a remarkable transformation.
That's not what I thought, but that's a fair point too.
Is.
That's a fair point too.
It is.
I played with him in one of the transitions. That's a fair point.
He had a very interesting comment when Ken Rosenthal asked him about the Hall of Fame and all that, and he certainly didn't sound like a guy who's thinks he's absolutely a first ballot Hall of Fame.
He's going to get in. But he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He'll get in. He'll get a lot of first ballot votes. You may be right. You may be right. But
he said it right on the MLB Network today. He's not a career 3-run hitter. He don't have 400 homers. He played a corner in a small ballpark.
Yeah.
He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And then Chris Russo said, "You're a Hall of Famer because on base percentage. You led it and did it like no khakis ever done it. Like." You're getting in, which he deserves to get in. But first ballot, man, them dudes, they breathe different air than everybody else. But who am I? What do I know? I'm a career minor leaguer.
You're an NFL fan.
A huge one.
Erik Kratz is host of Foul Territory, former MLB catcher, one of Kevin Barker's many former teammates.
But he likes football. Ask him.
Of course he does. Probably played in a couple of NFL teams, too. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590.
Stood around, didn't do anything.
Kratzy. Probably. All right, welcome back to Blair and Barker for Friday. 7:20 is the first pitch tonight. Kevin Gossman against Max Fried. Saturday, it's Jose Barrios against Spencer Schwellenbeck. What? And Yariel Rodriguez on Sunday against Chris Sale. You've got Blue Jays tickets to give away to see the Jays and the Mets at the Rogers Center on September 10th.
Just give Pete Alonso a Blue Jays jersey. Tell him to stay here. Stay here, big fella.
I don't know. Maybe people don't want Pete Alonso.
All right.
Maybe they don't want Pete Alonso.
They don't like homers?
Homers are boring. Run prevention's better. Let's bring in Erik Kratz. No, I'm just kidding.
It's fair. No, I believe you.
Erik Kratz, host of Foul Territory and former MLB catcher. Mr. Kratz, as always, it's great to talk to you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, no doubt. Why every time I come on, you guys don't ever say minor league baseball player? What? You guys say big league baseball player.
Because you got like 12 years in the show, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that's why.
Yeah, but I got 13 in the bushes.
No, that's why. Dude, I had a like a one-way ticket to the bushes, Kratzy. Like that's what Jeff says to me. Basically, I'm a career minor leaguer.
I have no.
That's what Jeff says to me, and I got a cup of coffee. I mean, it's a big cup, but I got a cup of coffee in the big leagues. When you get more than 10 years, you are an official big leaguer. So
I had parts of 11 years. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but
service time. How much service time you got?
6 plus.
All right, that's more than I got. So you're a big leaguer.
And most importantly,
I'm a big league free agent.
That's good.
People kept asking you back. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, they traded for you in big moments.
They did. You guys make me blush on a Friday.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Well, you're welcome. It's really, we're trying to lipstick on a pig. For the past couple of weeks.
Kratzy, you just made me think of something. Before we move on, whenever you get traded, because there's a bunch of kids on the Blue Jays team that are trying to make their way and trying to impress, and sort of that relates to you when it comes to being traded and expectations are high, just coming in and hitting the ground running. How hard is that to do?
Man, it is. I've done it really well, and I've done it really awful. I went 0 for 15 to start my career with 2 teams that I got traded for, and I went 8 for 16 with 4 dingers to start my career for a team that I got traded for. So I've experienced both, and I'll tell you that if I had gotten called up to the big leagues, gotten traded at 22, 23 years old, like some of these younger guys on the Blue Jays, 24, 25, I don't know that I could have handled it without a veteran to be like, hey, like the game is the exact same. The game is the same. The difference is you just never get a breather. In the bushes, you get an opportunity to get a breather in the sense that like, ooh, this guy, I would never face this guy in this situation. If I want to be a big leaguer, I need to come through in the minor leagues. Where in the big leagues, you're facing the best. You're facing the best of the best every single time you go out there. And so if somebody would have told me that, it would have helped that transition. So to me, I'd look to the veterans on the Blue Jays team to help those young guys.
Kratzy, when you were 0 for 15, did you ever get fish-eyed? Do you ever get fish-eyed from like guys who were already there going, man, we traded for this dude? You freaking kidding me? Like, this guy stinks. Did you ever feel it? Like, could you feel it walking through a clubhouse?
You know what? I would always be the first person to bring it up. And what one of my teammates said to me one time, he's like, bro, I had no idea you were 0 for 15.
Wow.
Other guys don't know, because the reality is I was never playing. So I go 0 for 15 in the first 5.5 weeks of the season. That's like 7 starts I'm getting pinch hit for. I'm getting pinch hit for in the 7th inning because it's a tie ball game and it's my 3rd at bat. So I'm never picking up that 3rd at bat. No, I felt like they were fish-eyeing me, but I'm glad somebody told me that, because then I stopped bringing it up. It was making a display out of something I didn't want anybody to know.
Yeah, it's fair.
Erik, one of the things that we've been talking about here, and especially with the young guys that have been called up, is sort of what do you trust and what don't you trust, right? And there's the old thing, don't always trust what you see in the first month of the season. Don't always trust what you see in September. What do you, when you're watching a guy in September and his team is out of it and he's called up and he's impressive, what are the things that you look for, right, that make you think, okay, this is more than just fool's gold? There might actually be something here.
If I'm on the team or if I'm a fan?
If you're on the team, if you're a player in that clubhouse.
If I'm a player in that clubhouse, I want to see this young player come to the field with energy every single day. Michael Young said it. Veterans are on the team to give stability. Young players are on the team to bring energy. So if I have a young player, no matter if he went out the night before, had a few extra yogurts, and comes into the field the next day and is like, oh, man, like, I'm so tired. To me, that's tragic because his role is to be a energy guy. Bring that energy every single day. And if I don't see that, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I trust this guy. I don't know if I trust what this guy is bringing because you can't see a guy's talent. You're not that good. If you were that good, you'd be up in the show at 20 years old like Vladdy was. You know, those guys can come some days with no energy and still go 3 for 4. So to me, I'd look for that energy. But as far as on the field, I would look for somebody who's not overmatched and is always, you know, needs to swing at the first pitch to get a good swing off and is uncertain. You can smell fear in the big leagues on your own team and on the other team. And there's plenty of things that show, oh, this guy's fearful. 1-1 counts. He's always swinging no matter what. A pitcher, he never comes inside hard, or if he does, it's like way in. It's not even a competitive in pitch. Like, so you sit there and you go, I don't think this guy's got it. And those would be the things that I look at. But fear rears its head in plenty of ways, but in a clubhouse, that's the easiest way to lose hopefully your future teammates, because you want to stay in the big leagues.
It's funny you said that, Kratz. Curtis Laskanik, one time I was playing pool with him, said, I beat you standing on the on-deck circle. What the heck are you talking about? And then he said, I can look over there at you and see fear. And I'm like, and ever since then, when he told me that was like my first year of actually being a professional baseball player, like you felt like you were a part of something, that I actually paid attention to how I was standing on the on-deck circle. So I can sort of relate to what you're talking about, that fear thing. But I do want to talk about trust and Clay Holmes in New York. What the heck's going on with him?
Man. So I'm going to give you the statistical answer. He doesn't strike a lot of guys out.
Nope.
You're in the 9th inning. You have to strike guys out. Whoever the Blue Jays figure out is going to be their closer after Jordan Romano leaves, he strikes guys out. That's the reason he's out there. Yes. Is there ice in his veins? Yes. All that stuff. But you have to be able to dig deep and throw a pitch that is going to strike somebody out 30 to 55% of the time. And a non-statistical analysis of what's going on with Clay Holmes is he'll be fine. This is the beauty of being a good team. Is he a predominant Mariano Rivera closer on your team? No, absolutely not. But look across the league. Who are the dominant closers? It's Emmanuel Clase. Mm-hmm. It's Felix Bautista's hurt. It is
Hader, maybe
guys who. Well, I was just going to get the Astros because they have all the closers, so that's the other reason.
Right, yeah.
They have Abreu, they have Presley, they have, and if you watch Ryan Presley, I almost said Alex Presley again, but if you watch Ryan Presley, he's going to throw that slider, and this is something that Wade Davis, Greg Holland told me. He goes, when we go to the World Series and we're in Game 7, bases loaded, 3-2, he goes, I'm going to throw the slider. I'm throwing my slider, because that's the mindset that you have to have. And so when you look at Clay Holmes, what is that pitch that he says, Game 7, World Series, bases loaded, you're up by a run, what pitch is he throwing? And to me right now, his sinker is a hope pitch. He hopes they hit it to somebody. Mm-hmm. There's a tick down in his velocity. I don't know if his movement is any, I don't know what it's doing right now, but the hitters will tell you what it's doing. And he's giving up hard contact. It's on the ground. It's definitely on the ground, but he's giving up hard contact, and he's going to need some help. And that's why I think he's going to be fine, is they're going to start putting him in less leveraged situations. But I think the easy answer is Tommy Kahnle. To me, you've seen Tommy Kahnle as Blue Jay fans. Mm-hmm. You've seen him come in there so many times and get the job done. He's got about a 2.07 ERA. His walks are a little high right now, but that was because at the beginning of the season he walked like 7 guys in his first 5 appearances. To me, that's an easy transition. And I think it's something that I think they'll make seamlessly, but it'll help Holmes get on his feet.
Sticking in the AL East, Erik, the Baltimore Orioles, did they, in retrospect, not do enough at the trade deadline, or maybe not do enough of what they needed to do at the trade deadline? I understand that, you can't compensate for the fact that I think Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson are hitting like 240 in the past month or 3 weeks or something like that. I get you can't compensate for that. But did they maybe not do enough at the trade deadline?
Are we talking about this year?
This year,
last year, or the year before?
No, this year.
All the above.
All of the above, but mainly this year, because it looks like they're. It's a good thing they got it.
They're missing something.
It's a good thing they put some wins in their pocket at the start of the year. Let's put it that way.
It is very true, very true. And they had an MVP, first 2/3 of the year from Gunnar Henderson, and I think it bodes well for them. He'll play well in the postseason. His at bats are solid. I think they missed the mark, and I say that because they have more cash than any other team in baseball. And when I mean cash, I'm talking general manager cash. Players. They have young players that can come up to the big leagues that are blocked where they are, and can help another team. Look at Joey Ortiz. Joey Ortiz has stepped in and played at an all-star level for the Orioles. They got Corbin Burns for that. If that's all it takes, this is your window. If you don't take advantage of your window, you should when was the last time you saw a team over-trade? Or, I just don't see where they're going to get, all this playing time. I don't see where these players are going to play. Never happens. It's like, well, we'll try it. Like the Orioles got too cute. I love the Eflin pickup because that's there for next year too.
Right.
And they have rotation pieces that hopefully will come back next year. Hope, yes, but other guys get hurt. So you sit there and you go, why would you not go overboard this year? This is your 4-year window. This is your 4-year window with Adley and Gunnar and Westberg. Well, they got rid of Norby, so I guess he's gone. But Jackson, this isn't a forever thing.
Yep. And
you go and you say, okay, who do we need? We need a closer. Tanner Scott was there. Don't give me, well, he's been here before. He's the most dominant player out there. Lucas Erceg was out there. Lucas Erceg is absolutely filthy. He was available. The Royals said, we're willing to make that move. And he's got 5 years of control left, 4 years of control left. They underperformed in the trade deadline because they're so used to hoarding their prospects and they value them so much, instead of saying, you know what, we might miss and get rid of a guy, but we're going to get a ring on that thing. And that's what this time of year is about, is going to get that ring because of the players that you have. And don't get cute. Don't try to figure out Giovanni Soto and why he's not throwing strikes. The Phillies are a World Series contending team. They got rid of him. There's a reason. They weren't like, we just can't figure him out. Change the scenery guy. He throws 100 from the left side. You need to hit on all your trades and make too many trades. Have a problem. Need to send Cedric Mullins down when he's not playing. That's what good teams do. The Dodgers got rid of Jason Hayward, maybe the best clubhouse guy in the game right now. They got rid of him because they were like, we stocked up a lot of talent and we didn't need him because we want to win a World Series. That's where I think the Orioles missed.
Kratzy, who do you got, Braves or Mets, making the playoffs?
Braves.
Wow.
Recency bias. We just had Reed Garrett on our show today, and man, do I love the energy, the vibes, whatever the kids say. I love, it just seems like they're having a blast. But boy, do I love Max Fried, Chris Sale, Spencer Schwellenbach, and Charlie Morton in any September-October start. That's where I think they have the advantage. And the starting pitching, and I didn't even mention Reynaldo Lopez. I feel like the starting pitching on the Braves is just more than what the Mets have in depth. And better than all of them might be Sean Manaea right now. he's rounding into the ace of that staff. So I love what Peterson's doing. I love what Severino's doing. But to me, I just think they work so hard to get back to tied that I don't think they make it, and the Braves make the playoffs.
Kratzy, really good of you to join us as always, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, have fun at your soccer game. Is that a soccer game you're at?
It is a soccer game.
Nice. Nice. Awesome. Well, have fun, buddy. It's good to talk to you.
Appreciate y'all.
See you,
Take
man.
care. That's Erik Kratz, host of Foul Territory, at a soccer game.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's his kids. He's got 19 of them.
Just saying.
One of them's going to play soccer.
Just saying. Not at a football game.
I'll never forget winter ball when he pulls up in the van, and they have a American van basically. The van comes by and picks everybody up at the same hotel because that's where everybody's staying.
Right.
And they had to get a separate van just for Kratzy's family. There's like 30 of them. They're like, here, hold this kid and this kid. It's like everybody has to come out and like grab a baby. It's like he's a great dude, man. It's so much fun playing with him, and he just says off the wall stuff, and it's tremendous. And he's a giant human.
If you ever want to really
lurch,
if you ever really want to get John Gibbons going,
yeah,
ask him about Erik Kratz.
Yeah,
he loves Erik Kratz. Absolutely loves Erik Kratz. Went to the wall to have Erik Kratz on the team. Just he'll talk your ear off for hours about him.
Yeah,
a lot of
he had a solid career being a backup catcher. And, a lot of those managers, the Brewers, wanted him catching in big games.
I was going to say.
They wanted him catching
look at that year he had with the Brewers.
Yeah, like he was, that was when you put the fingers down. You had to block balls. You had to throw a guy out occasionally. And that, I think, is the team he's talking about, the Brewers, where he was pretty hot and hitting the homers. And, he was hitting some homers with the Brewers. Yeah, so, it's Kratzy. I think every good team needs a Kratzy on their team.
Well, as I said, it says something.
Blue Jays could use that.
Guys, you roll your eyes when you say a guy's been on 13 different teams or whatever. But you know what that means? That means 13 different general managers. It's the same thing with Jesse Chavez. All the teams, that means 13 different general managers said, I like this guy.
Yeah.
Or in the case of Chavez, I think Alex Anthopoulos has acquired him 3 or 4 times or been part of the team. And there are guys like that are trustworthy. They're consistent.
Yeah.
They don't rock the boat. You know what you're going to get from them, and they contribute. They contribute something. That I found. See, that's what I like talking to guys who've played the game, because that answer he gave about energy coming to the clubhouse, and you can kind of see that, right? You can see where if you're a veteran.
De Los Santos gives that with the Blue Jays, right? He never plays, but he's got energy on the bench.
So the other dude was Stuart Baroa.
Yeah.
And, I guess I look at it this way. If I'm a guy like George Springer, hasn't been the best year.
Well,
clearly you didn't sign up for this. Here come these young guys, and they're bringing a little extra.
Yeah.
And that's good because it makes September less boring for the guys in the field.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've been impressed by these guys. Like that. Same thing with Leo Jimenez, man.
Yeah.
That catch he made the other day. Yeah, you want to see that. All these. It's really interesting. All of the guys. We spend so much time. Not just us, but everybody spends so much time crapping in the Jays minor league system. Right? We have.
Yeah.
But Horwitz,
they earned it.
Barger, Jimenez have all come up, and they haven't embarrassed themselves.
No. Yeah.
And that's, if you're looking for good things to take away from this season, one of the really good things I'm going to take away is the fact that it seems now, and I'm not saying any of these guys are going to be all-stars. Shoot, some of them may not, a lot of them may not be everyday players. But this is the first time that if somebody in the Blue Jays front office said, we might have 3 guys in the minor league system who'll be everyday players within 3 years, I'll believe them. Wouldn't have done that before.
Or you could use them to get creative and go out and get what you need.
Just Will Wagner open some eyes? Maybe.
He would if you lumped him with Barger and Leo Jimenez and wanted to trade for whatever you needed to trade him for like that. Yeah. Maybe an 8th inning guy, like a legit 8th inning guy. that you don't have to match up with all the time. Like I'm with you. Like I just don't see where everybody fits in, and it's fun and dandy to watch the fun guys run all over the place, and you're wearing the jacket more. But
this seems a little.
It is about winning. Don't forget that. And they are in the American League East, and they do spend a lot of money on their team. So, they are getting to have their fun for about however many games that is, 40 games from the break on.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the season starts, even when the season's over this year, I think that's when it sort of rubber meets the road, and you get back to working.
I will get back to what I said. They're taking advantage of their opportunities. They're doing basically.
Yeah, I still don't know where everybody fits. Like Bard's going to be on your team next year. I mean, he's you can see how it could fit.
Yeah, but I don't.
But the beginning of next year.
At this point, though, all they are doing at this point is trying to put themselves in a position where you got to think about it.
Yeah, I think it's an audition for other teams too. I think that's what it is. I've been in that spot. Like you got to remember, it's not only the Blue Jays you're auditioning for. It's everybody else like you're playing against.
Yeah.
You stick a Will Wagner at second. Maybe that's why they're playing Will Wagner at second a lot and not putting Horowitz at second. They know who can play second a little.
I kind of got the impression from John that Spencer Horowitz isn't going to be the second baseman next year.
I got that feeling too. I mean, why? If he was going to be your guy, he'd be playing there to get used to the feel of playing beside Vladdy, turning double plays with Leo or Ernie. You get Bo back. You want to get that relationship back and forth. I'm with you. Like, I'm in that. I know what they said. I know what Dan Shulman came on our show and said a couple of days ago that, they want to see Will. But, man, if you got your everyday second baseman and that's the way you feel, you wouldn't be playing every day. Yeah, why would you want to be playing? Why would you want to see what Will Wagner's doing? So I'm with you. Like,
and maybe they view Spencer Horowitz as first baseman / lefty DH, part of a DH platoon or something like that. That's entirely possible. But it is, I thought he was like you. I mean, I thought he was okay at second base. He could make the plays, but it's entirely possible that they see something, that what they are seeing defensively isn't necessarily what we're seeing defensively.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong about the not being able to go out and get a couple of bats and lengthen the lineup that way. Well, again, if you take care of the first 5 spots in your order, you can do whatever you want to do, 6th or 9th.
No, I'm not saying they're not going to go out and get a couple of bats. Yeah, they will. Of course they will. They'll add a couple of bats. I think they'll probably, I think they'll add an impactful bat. I think they'll be all over a guy like Santander. But I need, again, I kind of need to get a sense of what's up with Bo, like what their plans are for Bo. I think that will kind of.
I did think he's a little closer. I thought they were acting like he's a little closer than what he was. Like it seemed to me like he'd be playing today or tomorrow or, the day before the off day. Like didn't it feel like he should be playing already? At least that's the feel I got. Now, obviously, that's not the case, but just seemed to me like he'd be rehabbing somewhere, like he'd be, going on a rehab assignment in the minor leagues, like something.
That the calf thing.
That's a big deal, but
I want to be real careful.
Didn't they seem like they sounded like they were close?
Yes, they did. Maybe we'll find out more. I should have actually asked John about that, but maybe. Well, you know what? Shi Davidi's going to join us next. And he is in Atlanta with the team, so maybe he knows.
China.
Maybe he knows more.
He'll know. Yeah.
I do think that the Jays' social feed sent out a thing. We talked about the NFL. They were all wearing NFL uniforms.
He was wearing a Raiders shirt too.
Was it Raiders or Falcons?
Looked Raiders.
Okay,
but maybe I was wrong.
But Bo was on the charter, so that would indicate that he's probably with the team in Atlanta. So I don't know. Maybe he goes from Atlanta to.
Maybe.
I don't know where he's going to rehab, but we'll ask Shi Davidi about that. He'll join us next, and I've got Jays Mets tickets to give away as well. I'll do that on the other side. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan and Sportsnet. A reminder that this Tuesday is the Sportsnet Jays Care broadcast auction. You can head to bluejays.com/auction to bid on incredible packages, from the chance to golf with Jose Bautista. Maybe flip your club after you hit a great shot. Mm-hmm. A trip to New York City with Dan Shulman.
Love Dan.
Or a trip to Panama to fish with Buck Martinez.
Yeah, that
come on.
Are you kidding me?
Come on.
I mean, I hope he catches more
Come
fish
on.
than he caught last time he went fishing, but
Wow.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Once again, go to bluejays.com/auction.
Buck is the best storyteller on earth.
Buck is the
Spending an entire, how many days is that?
Having
Do you know this is
no,
down there?
having spoken to someone who has fished with Buck, it is, if you're an outdoorsman, that's
I don't like fishing, but I would do that.
You don't
in a
like
heartbeat.
fishing?
No, I don't.
you'd
I don't have the patience to fish.
really.
I can't.
But
stand
you
it. I
like
don't
football. Interesting. Bo Bichette, ask and ye shall find an answer. Bo Bichette, according to Shi Davidi, ran the bases again earlier today. He was caught stealing twice. No. Bo Bichette ran the bases earlier today and will remain with the Blue Jays through the weekend in Atlanta. The plan is for him to join Buffalo on Tuesday for a rehab assignment, likely 4 to 5 games. So 4 to 5 games. So you see Bo back maybe a week.
15 left. Something like that. Yeah, 15
Something
games.
like that.
That's something around.
We've been giving you the chance to win Blue Jays tickets all season long here in Blair and Barker. All you have to do is text the correct answer to our daily baseball trivia question of $5.95.90. Standard massage and data rates may apply. Our last question and answer was he played for the Blue Jays and Mets, each for 7 seasons. His son currently pitches for a team in the AL West. The answer was Al Leiter. Today's question, I'm thinking of that. Mark Leiter Jr., our producer Mark Boffo said to me, what was the name of Mark Leiter's Jr.'s father? And I couldn't get it. Anyhow, today's question is, it's just a brain cramp. Today's question is to win
tickets. Is that what it was?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh.
Today's question is to win tickets to see the Jays and Mets at the Rogers Center in September 10th. This is way too easy. This hitter played 3 seasons with the Mets after starting his career with 8 successful years in Toronto. This hitter played 3 seasons with the Mets after starting his career with 8 successful seasons in Toronto. Text the answer to $5.95.90 for your shot to win. See rules at sportsnet.ca/590. Standard message and data rates.
Give him a
You
hint.
know what? They may apply.
What's a hint
No,
you can give him?
I'm not going to give him a hint.
Let me see it.
I'm not giving you a
Why not?
hint. Because we got Shi Davidi joining us
All
right
right.
now. We got business to get to. What's up, Shi?
Not much. How's it going, guys?
Yeah, I hate Atlanta, don't you?
I mean, I haven't been here enough to hate it. And like Cobb County, where the stadium is, doesn't really feel like Atlanta. So I don't know. Hate might be a bit strong.
Okay.
And I haven't been here since before the pandemic, I don't think. So it's almost feels like I'm here for the first time again.
All right. It's just not my, it's one of my least favorite cities. We used to stay downtown. There's nothing going on downtown. Now, that was when the old ballpark was there. But I know Buckhead is pretty cool. Buckhead is pretty cool where the park is anyhow. So
it was a different experience for sure downtown there. That was not Turner Field, and I never got to Fulton, but that's a whole different animal.
Yeah, that is animal being. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. So we got some injury updates here. Now you've tweeted out that Bo Bichette is running the bases and that he'll go to Buffalo for 4 or 5 days starting on Tuesday. And I see that Arden. I'm going to apologize if you sent this out too, but Arden just said Jordan Romano won't be returning to the Blue Jays this season. I'm not. I don't know. Is there anybody out there that's surprised that Jordan Romano isn't coming back this year? I never really thought that would happen. But one, I'd like your read on that. Did you think that there ever was a chance he was going to come back? And two, what is your take on where Bo is?
So let's start with Romano. And I thought it was going to be tough for him to come back, but there were some people who had kind of spoken with a little bit of confidence about it, that they had enough time to get him back and that it made sense for him to even throw, a week and a half, 2 weeks and just be a part of things again. But the rehab process didn't go it went a little bit slower than I guess some of the expectations were. And he essentially just ran out of runway. And so it's not ideal, I think. The Blue Jays are going to have to make a really big decision on Jordan Romano, a really significant one, right? Because he's got 1 year of arbitration left. His number, even after the injury, would probably be in the neighborhood of $8 million. And I think all the Blue Jays would have liked, I think, in an ideal world, to have a bit of peace of mind about where Romano is going into the offseason, and having seen him back in the major leagues and throwing the way he can, and they won't have that now. And so, do they have to find a way to get creative with him and his contract in the offseason? Is it a non-tender and then a re-sign for a 2-year deal or something along those lines? Is there a risk that if you do non-tender him, some other team comes in a bit more aggressive than the Blue Jays? And as they're trying to reconstruct their bullpen, it's a difficult task. So they've got a very significant decision to make there. And I think, again, ideally they would have had at least a tiny sample to see him at the end of this season to help in that decision.
Shi, how about Bo? What's going on with Bo and when we see him in a baseball game at the big league level?
Yeah, so Bo Bichette is going to, as Jeff mentioned, start a rehab assignment Tuesday at Buffalo. He's going to continue working out with the team in Atlanta here for the weekend to get himself ready for that. John Schneider suggested, a couple games at shortstop, maybe a couple games at DH, so something like 4 to 5 games, and then he comes back. I wondered about that Cardinal series in Toronto at the end of next week. Might have been a target. Given that, it sounds like maybe it could be Texas when the Blue Jays head out for the final road trip of the season. But that would give him a couple of weeks. So I think for Bo Bichette, I know he wants to very much just come back and have a couple of weeks to not end his season on the way that it did. And he's obviously not going to have enough time to turn around his numbers or anything like that. But, I get the sense that he really missed playing and has really appreciated just being around the team again after an extended time away. And so I think that'll be good for him in a number of ways, mentally perhaps most of all.
Shi, which one of the young guys do you think has impressed the most, not named Ernie Clement?
Interesting question. So I think if we're counting Spencer Horwitz among that group, then certainly Spencer Horwitz is right there. But if you're kind of referring mostly to sort of some of the newer guys who came up, the first-time guys, then Will Wagner has really jumped out in a big way. And it's not just the numbers and the way that he's obviously been able to put up a ton of hits. It's the steadiness that he's shown in the field, especially for a guy who had at least a reputation in Houston as someone who didn't fully have a defensive position, and an ability to read the game and to read situations and just find the right thing to do at the right point in time. So I think he jumps out. The Blue Jays definitely like Joey Loperfido's complete game and all the different skill sets that he brings to the table. And obviously Addison Barger's had a really good 3 weeks or so, and where he's made an adjustment, he's gotten some good results from it and made some progress from there. So I think all those pieces, those are probably the guys who jump out immediately.
Shi, is the starting third baseman or second baseman on the team right now?
Good question. The combination of players who could fill one and or both of those positions are there, but I do think those are two spots the Blue Jays will look at augmenting in the offseason and adding to that group if you're not finding someone who's going to do that in an everyday role. And so the Blue Jays are going to have a significant list of things to do in the offseason, right? You got to find somewhere to get a thumper of some way, shape, or form. And what position does he play? That probably impacts a little bit of what you're doing in those two spots. The Blue Jays will need at least one starting pitcher. They're going to need some very significant relief help, even if they're sort of running through some waiver claims right now and seeing what they have. And Luis Frias is up right now, and that's somebody that the Blue Jays have some interest in and think that maybe he could turn into something. But they're going to need some established relief help, and so they've got a finite amount of resources And so maybe it is one of those positions that's filled by guys who are already here. And, you're putting your resources in other areas. I think so. I would say that a lot of it will be determined on sort of how the offseason plays out and what becomes available to them. But that is a possibility that maybe in large measure what they're going to do at least one of those two spots, if not both those spots, is already here.
Shi, real good stuff, man. We're going to let you scoot. Enjoy Atlanta. I was just kidding.
Thanks,
Enjoy
buddy.
Atlanta. Enjoy Buckhead. Thanks for this, man.
Thanks a lot, buddy. See you later.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. Take care.
See you,
care. Shi Davidi, Sportsnet's MLB insider. He is with the team in Atlanta, 7:20, the Braves. This is the first pitch tonight. Kevin Gossman against Max Fried. So Jordan Romano not coming back this year. I think we're both on the same page. I didn't expect to see him. Back. Yeah. The interesting, Shi mentioned a possibility of a non-tender for Jordan Romano. Man, it's. I don't know how I don't know how I feel.
$8 million's a lot for Jordan.
Yeah. But
I just think you got to have some predictability. And the back end of that bullpen, do they have that with Jordan? I mean, you have no idea what you're going to get. You hope that he comes back and, he's throwing 99 and the slider's really good. He can throw both when he wants to throw them. You have any idea? I think the unknowns there are just
this is where
too much to overcome.
Yeah, this is one of those things where they are going to have better medical information
Absolutely.
Than we are and a better read on things. I don't know if the fact that they've decided to not bring him back means they're comfortable with where he is, or I don't know if it's necessarily a setback. It may be that this is kind of they're happy with the way he's progressing, and they just feel at this point there's there's nothing to be gained by it. But going as Shi was talking, I was going back and reading, pardon me, some of the stuff that was written when he went down, and there were a lot of people saying that they thought he'd be back at some point in September.
Yeah.
So, boy, that's. I mean, I look at the bullpen right now. You talked about. I think Brennan Little's back because you're going to have a couple of lefties, and
yeah, if the pitching coach is back, Little's back.
Yeah. I think Hennessy
Cabrera's back. They really like him. What do you not? I mean, how do you not like that?
Yeah.
You can get righties and lefties out.
And
Chad Green's back.
Yeah.
And then there's everybody else. Yeah. And everybody else ain't here yet.
Yeah. And you got to figure out that, or you've got to imagine that they'll find somebody in the waiver on waivers who's going to start the year with the team or something like that. But,
they got to find their Trevor Richards somewhere.
Yeah, and then
that's who they got to find.
And then then you look at Yariel Rodriguez. How does he start with the team next year? I mean, I think you're right. You're paying him that much money. You want him to start, but what if this is what he is right now?
I think they're going to find that out in the next 3 or 4 starts. However many starts he's got, I think it's about probably 4 or 3, at least 3.
And I also thought when one of the things John Schneider said today, because I'd been told when Jake Bloss was acquired that I flat out told we were going to see him up here.
Yeah.
In September.
Yeah.
But it was interesting with John kind of saying they've talked about it, but it also depends on where he is in terms of how many pitches, in terms of workload. And you kind of got the impression that there was but there's a couple of other things that are factoring into this right now.
If they bring him up, they'd have to take away starts from Yariel. Do they really want to do that? You're taking away starts from the guys that are already here.
I mean,
and you're trying to find out what Yariel is.
Unless there's a health concern, I don't know why you would.
Maybe. You got to, right? I mean.
But I also have this thing, is there, and they may not have a choice, but could Yariel Rodriguez do enough in his next 3 starts for you to change your mind about what he is?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think him commanding the zone and who they're about to face. They're facing some good teams.
Yeah,
you got to get after dudes. You got to be aggressive. You got to throw the natural cutter where you want it to go. Why is Bowden turned the corner? Because he's locating the heater. Like, I mean, unless Yariel locates the heater, all that other stuff he throws, different arm angles, the start and stop, the plethora of all changing speeds. I mean, it means nothing. Like that, I think, is where they need to figure out why the consistency of the velocity on the fastball is not there, and why is the location sometimes non-existent. Like he's non-competitive a bunch of times with the fastball. Why? I mean, ain't like he's pitched a lot. Like, should never be looser and rarer and ready to go than you are this. You didn't pitch last year.
Yeah.
It's not like you can just, I'm wore out. Well, no, you're not.
And you haven't had an arm issue as far as we know.
So, I mean, I know the back thing, the spinal thing, who knows what that's like, but it looks to me like he's pitching every 5 days. So,
and that could very well be, my understanding of that situation, that could just very well be that he didn't pitch last year. And that's a little bit of
I guess,
the back issues, a little bit of thing as a result of doing a little more work.
They want to see him take a step forward. I said this, and I will keep saying it. There is a little urgency with the coaching staff. Like,
I just don't know how
they feel like they're up against it.
I mean, I don't know. Well, I guess anything. If he strings together 3 good starts or 4 good starts, then.
Well, you'd rather see that than not having 3 or 4 good starts in a row, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Or at least 2 of the 3 or 3 of the 4 or, I mean, he's a back end of the guy anyway. I mean, you're not asking him to go out there and give you a quality start every time, but be competitive and be predictable. Like Bowden Francis right now, whether you think this is a fluke or not, he's predictable. Like you basically know because of who he's done it against the last 2 starts that know what you're getting.
Well, and now it's almost proved that with Bowden Francis, something's got to happen to prove to me that what I'm seeing isn't right. You know, and that's we talked to John about that. That start against Philadelphia, that showed me something because if that had been earlier in the year, he's not pitching in the 3rd inning of that game.
Yeah, well,
he's not pitching in the 3rd inning of that game, and John's right. That's even with Harper leaving the game, that's still a good line.
That's the benefit too of being out of it, right? You can lead a guy out there and let him try and figure it out. Early in the season, they were in it.
Yeah.
And they were going to have a quicker hook than they would now. But Bowden's made every adjustment, right? I get back to that. They basically said, here's the job. Go out there and get it. Take it. We're getting out of the way. We're going to give you the resources. Petey's going to have conversations with him about sequencing, but you have to go out there and do it. Figure out your own. Like, these dudes are grown men. This is what I said about this. The minor leaguers getting hurt all the time. Sometimes you got to get out of the way. Give the dude the ball, glove, go out there and figure it out on your own.
What I've really found puzzling about Rodriguez is, even though he hasn't, as you said, he hasn't pitched he didn't pitch a lot. I didn't pitch at all last year. I expected. I haven't. His reputation when he came up here was that there was still enough sort of savvy old veteran guy in him that he was going to be able to figure it out. And that's kind of disappointing.
That's not what I heard. I heard he could stuff you to death. Like, he could throw you a fastball on a fastball count, and there's nothing you could do about it. He could throw you a spinner because he's good.
Right, but I assumed that they would.
Seen that?
No, I assumed that, but I assumed they would be getting a guy who would have kind of a mature approach to pitching and would know what he's about and would know what he has to do.
Because he's 26 or 7.
Yeah, and would have an idea about what he has to do. And
pitching's pitching, no matter where you do it at.
But this is to your point.
The velocity thing is weird.
Well,
seems to me like he's hit the wall. Why you hit the wall? I mean, you've made 8, 9 starts. Well, yeah. How are you going to hit the wall 8 or 9 starts? And we hope you can make 25 starts next year. You can't. You can't hope that. That's what I said. Like, best I've been told and how I can read between the lines is some important starts. Now, I understand what John said, and that's what John's supposed to say. That, he's going to get every opportunity. And, again, it would help so they don't have to worry about that in the offseason.
Kevin Gausman tonight, 12-10. He's got an ERA of 4.07. How do you feel about Kevin Gausman as we get to the end of the season?
I like it. I like the velocity. I like the slider that he's throwing against righties.
Mm-hmm.
He can backdoor it. He can steal a strike with it. I do like the consistent velocity. I do like that he's getting over his front side better. It was breaking down. When it bends, the front knee bends when it hits the ground, and he's falling off towards the first base side, arms playing catch-up. You don't throw as hard. You don't drive it down the hill. And I think locating down is a huge deal for him. Like, I think he's a pitcher down first and then starts to sprinkle higher quadrants second time through, third time through, be tough with the lefty, right? You can crowd the lefty. You can elevate the lefty. You can throw up and in to a righty. Like, you can do some things. And I think the way he's using the sliders helped the split finger a little bit. I know he'll tinker sometimes with the two-seamer. It ain't a sinker. It's a two-seamer.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I do like it. I think he's made the little mechanical change that he made in Chicago. You know, when they had their little side session, he was – they've made some tinkering moves all year with sort of a little bit more bent upper half, getting a little different arm angle to get the ball to do the way he wants it to do, right, and have it located and have it finish the way he wants to finish. And I do think he's –
And you made the point.
He's getting more swing and miss, too, which is a big deal.
Yeah, you made the point often about this. This is why I really find him – his career is kind of has always intrigued me because he's basically a two-pitch guy, and we've kind of seen him change a little bit in the middle of a season. Like, that cannot be the easiest thing to do. I understand you're older and you have there's a certain element of survivability probably here. Kevin says, I got to do this if I want to be able to survive. I still give a guy credit for being able to do that.
He's not walking with a cane. You got to remember that too. Now, you just simplified it enough to say that, he has the 5th highest hard hit percentage on his fastball. That ain't no bueno.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a two-pitch guy sprinkling in other two pitches, and you sprinkle in the other two pitches because you have the 5th highest hard hit percentage on your fastball. Now you're throwing harder. Now you can locate it a little bit more. Now you can throw it when you want to throw it. If I want to throw it in a fastball count, I can do it. And there ain't really a whole lot you can do about it because I'm over my front side. I'm finishing it the way I want to finish. It's releasing, and it's ending up where I want it to end up. And, yeah, I think that's a veteran dude. And, again, they want to be in a playoff hunt. I think that had a little bit to do with it, too, is when you're out of it. And, I said that. What did I say? The first 57 games, they were 28 and 29. The last 84 games, are 39 and 45. It's not like veteran dudes are oozing energy to run out there and give you a quality start every time. I'm not saying that's not what they're trying to do. But, man alive, like there'd be that more sense of urgency where if I got to throw the kitchen sink at you, I'm going to throw the kitchen sink at you. I'm not going to go out there and experiment and try and find my velocity and my location.
It would be easy to just kind of cruise into the
absolutely,
into the off-season.
And they're missing that. That's why I think the two guys that matter in the rotation, as vocal as they've been this year, means a lot. They're basically saying to the front office, where you dudes at? We're doing our part. We've been doing it for the last couple of years. Now we need help. We're getting up there. We doing everything. You seen us making adjustments, on the fly here.
Rotation.
We're inventing pitches. Bassett hadn't had his two-seamer forever. Still pitching good. Barrios stopped spinning the ball forever. He was front side pulling it and just not finishing things. And they've went through a bunch of things and they've corrected those things. That's what I said. It'd be interesting to see if they can score more runs, how it will look. That, I think, is enough for me to say that I hope everybody that don't agree with me is wrong. Everybody.
I hope everybody that doesn't agree with me is wrong. It's outstanding. Yeah. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be doing Blue Jays talk following tonight's game. Fan pregame is next. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the baseball. Kevin's something else, man. You're something else.